Hey everybody, I got some new felling wedges lately that were a little different from usual, and I was just gonna take some pictures, and I thought I'd take a video, and then I ended up dragging out more wedges, and then that carried over into wedge banging axes. So we'll do a little more comprehensive video from stuff I've heard from mentors and reliable sources and stuff I've tried and made on my own, so on and so forth. But main focus was the new ones here. This is a power wedge that Bjarne Butler designed. He's a Canadian big timber faller. I think you can buy those on woodboss.ca. I think they're like $15. And what's special about them is they are a less steep angle than your standard angle, which, like, that's your Madsons right there, standard angle. K&H standard angle, that's a Forester hardhead standard angle. I've heard the Foresters have a tendency to break their heads off, and hardheads are better. I don't know. I bought it kind of on a whim. I found that I don't like the vibration from the hardheads, but I do think they drive easier. The K&H's are soft and they don't give you vibrations up your handle, but they tend to seem to smash down the heads more and mushroom out, and then maybe they don't drive as well since they're softer. I want to say the Madsons are a little harder. I bought a couple 12-inch of these yellow ones. I think those were Oregon, and both of them broke. So the other one I got recently is this green one. I was in a supply store up in the San Juan Islands and saw these ones that were thicker at the back, and I thought, man, you know what, that would be nice for those situations where you just gotta drive it in a little bit more. And so that steeper angle, it's slight, but it's gonna be, it doesn't show up on camera as well as it does to the naked eye. Let me try zooming in a little. It's slight, but it's going to be a little harder to drive, yeah. But it, you can chase it in with your average wedge banging axe, and definitely with this here is a Cyclone. It's an Australian axe. I don't think they make them exactly like this anymore, but the pole is a little thinner. It's about an inch, and most felling wedges are about 1 1/8 to 1 1/4 tall at the back, whereas this green guy, I don't know what brand this is, by the way. If somebody knows, let me know. I've seen there's some online called High Vis and Hard Body, but they don't seem to have the same thick back end. Maybe it's some goofy off brand, I don't know, but they're like 1.5 inches wide at the back. Most of your standard ones are about 1 1/4 inches, 1 1/8. The Wood Boss, oh, there we go, woodboss.ca, is like 7/8 wide at the back, and then it's a little thicker at the front, which that's not going to be what you're going to want to use, obviously, if you get your saw pinched and you have to drive it into a closed curve or something like that. It's more like put it in the curve ahead of time like you're supposed to, and it's for driving big heavy trees over, because that less steep angle is going to be easier to drive. You're not going to get as much lift, but you'll have more power. Speaking of like screwing up and getting pinched real bad, that's part of the reason I made these aluminum wedges. I have 2 or 3 of these, but the main reason I made these are sharpened in the front, so I can use them for driving in and wedging out a face. But the main thing is there's these little one-way spikes on here that I put in here with a square punch, and they're like shark skin. They're kind of one way, keeps them from coming out. They work real good in dry, hard, springy stuff that I have down here. And then this one, it was just kind of the remnant after I made those. It's kind of it's nice. It's not like having 2 wedges put together, but you don't actually have to stack them up. These little wedges like this I got when I first started messing with tree work, and I just about don't use them anymore because they're so short and steep. They just pop right out real bad. There's a trick for that. You put sawdust or dirt on your wedges before you drive them in, but it doesn't always work when your wedges are too short and steep. So what I use those for, and also this broken wedge here, is I use them for stackers. I did if you look back on my videos, I did a 4-foot diameter oak recently that was back weighted pretty good, and I ended up stacking about 5 wedges wide, drove them all in, double stacked them up, and tipped the tree over. Probably beat wedges for about 15 minutes. And actually, with that many wedges there, it was not that hard to drive them. I used the 6-pound Council fire axe that's got a 30-inch straight handle on it. Now it comes with a 32-inch curved. That's a Tennessee Hickory brand handle that I got from Madsen's. They're about 15 bucks. Usually you'd want a shorter handle for a wedge banger, but I like them a little longer for most of the time because I make them a little dual purpose. If I need a short one, I've got my Council, nice, one of my logger buddies. I'm gonna zoom in a little. Logger buddies told me that trick of make your back of your beater like kind of rounded and golf ball, less vibrations on off hits and stuff. That's a Stro axe, and which same guy told me those are the best bangers out there, so I had to get one to try that. And then I was looking for more of them because you can't find them out there, and I stumbled on this shape, which is interesting. The Cyclone is exactly the same shape as the Stro axe, but it's 4.5 pounds instead of 5, and it's basically just thinner right there on the back, which it's nice for chasing a wedge into the kerf or into the cut. Just that last little bit, you need just a little bit more. This here, was it Whiskey River? Had these heads, old heads on sale, Baco or something like that. And I had Daniel Donnelly Brothers Metalworks. Had him make a backwards handle for it. It's kind of backwards, kind of both ways. And that one's a shorty if I need something for working in the tight brush. And then this one here I bought. This is a Norland 5-pound like rafting pattern, but it has a really long pole on it, longer than normal, which is nice for not chewing up your handle. I had another theory too, that having all the meat kind of long and skinny, all the weight, is like a railroad spike hammer. If you've ever seen those, they're real long and skinny, and the idea is to focus all the kinetic energy in the weight of the head right on the spike where you're driving it. It's also so they can reach down past the rails and drive the spikes in. But so I got that one with that theory, and it does drive wedges pretty darn good. I'm actually looking forward to a chance to get out there and get some more back leaning trees and do some more experimenting with wedges and wedge beaters. But the last one that I'll bring up is this little guy. I see a lot of arborists, residential guys and stuff, using like 3-pound sledges for tipping over trees or maybe pounding wedges up in the bucket or whatever. And I stumbled across one of these somewhere in a store, and it was kind of pricey, and so I passed on it. But then I found them online for like 35 bucks or 38 or something like that. So I bought one because I figure who needs a 3-pound hammer with a hammer on both sides. If we have a chopper on one side, gives us another tool in our toolbox. It's a Estwing Fireside Friend. It says 4 pounds. I think it's a 3-pound head and 4 pounds altogether. But it's light enough that if you're pretty strong, you can swing it one-handed up in the bucket or up in a tree for driving a wedge for tipping a top over. But it's also heavy enough that down on the ground you put 2 hands on it and swing it like you mean it, and it'll drive some wedges pretty good too. I have found though that with the rounded face on the hammer side back here, like with a splitting maul, does the same thing. They can kind of chew your wedges up a little bit. It's better to have a kind of a more square flat face and hit it square and flat. Actually, I have my other green one here. I already put it to use while I was on vacation where I brought it, and I used a maul on it, and you can see some of my swings weren't perfect, and they were they were a little hard on it. But anyway, I think that's all I've got out now here for discussion on the table. Hopefully it helps somebody out. Go ahead and throw up your tips and tricks and ideas, thoughts and comments.